This isn't my average informational video where I describe everything in detail. This is me documenting the beauty of an incredible adventure I shared with my mom. An incredible adventure that wouldn't have been possible if everyone and their mother was trying to have the exact same adventure. For that reason, I've chosen to omit discerning details and trailheads and solely focus on documenting this amazing journey we shared so that we can remember it fondly years from now when we can no longer spend 7 days exploring 50 miles in the backcountry.
Did you get caught?
How low can you go?
Right away, we were faced with challenges. Our 45-pound packs filled with 7 days worth of food and supplies made navigating the terrain a little bit tricky. We began hiking around lunchtime. We had to cover a lot of ground if we wanted to make it to our intended campsite by nightfall. We only had about 12 hours of daylight, and the journey here cut that in half. Soon we'd made it to the coast, which was the end of any discernible trail and true start to our backcountry adventure. I made a quick pit stop for water, and surprisingly, it actually tasted good. We had a good rain year. Already in awe of the beauty here, we had to keep moving, which meant scaling a very steep hill out of the canyon. One misstep and we'd be rolling the whole way down. But we made it through our first obstacle safely. At the next canyon, route finding proved difficult. The cliff sure looked steeper in person, and after collecting some more water, we attempted a few different options, but just couldn't figure out how to cross, and the sun was sinking on the horizon fast. We had to call it for the night and made the safe decision to make camp at the canyon mouth and continue navigating in the morning. This ended up being one of the most beautiful campsites, though completely unplanned. Usually the best things are. In the morning, we continued exploring along the coast and found our access back up onto the bluff. Luckily, it wasn't nearly as steep or sketchy as the last canyon. And at this point, our destination wasn't far. We could see our beach camp in the distance, but between us was a gnarly descent, followed by a treacherous rock crossing into the next cove. We scooted our way down the path of least resistance down to the beach and discovered the rocks were being pummeled by waves. We'd arrived at high tide and would need to wait for the tide to drop almost 2 feet for the rocks to become crossable. Fine by us. We explored the canyon and soaked up some sun for a couple hours. Eventually, I hopped onto the rocks to check it out and decided it was time to move along, so I returned to grab my pack and my mom, and we were off across our final obstacle for the day. And we're dry.
You're dry. They just put there. Looks like they placed it there, but I can't tell.
I don't know. Once safely on the beach, we had nothing but time to set up camp, collect water, and explore the mile of beach in front of us.
Like a snail graveyard.
Yeah,
That way?
going that way.
Huh?
Yeah, we're going that way. Ooh, mud. Just before low tide, we made the decision to walk to the far end, a mile away, to investigate the possibility of a rock crossing to the next beach camp the following day. If the rocks were impassable, we'd have to hike upwards of 5 miles into the island to pass around the next canyon. Luckily, we found that we could cross at low tide. It wouldn't be easy, but it meant we only had 1 mile of beach to cover instead. It also meant that we'd have to return again at the next lowest low tide. We'd have to wait until just before sunset tomorrow. Ironically, it was on these rocks that we ran into friends coming from the opposite direction with the same intention in mind. We'd met them here in the backcountry the previous year, so it was an incredible coincidence. We exchanged hellos and navigational beta before parting ways for the night. Since we now had a full day to explore, we took advantage of the opportunity to do a little bit of scrambling up the canyon. And my mom quickly learned that what looked like knee-deep water was actually quite a bit deeper. Like I said, good rain year.
Well, you need sun because I'm like cold now. Safer that way though.
Soon it was time to return to camp to begin the next leg of our journey. Forgetting that high tides were getting higher each day, we were lucky our camp didn't wash away in our absence. a good mental note for next time. And now we were off to a new adventure in a new camp on a new beach. As impossible as it sounds, as the nights passed, each camp somehow became even more beautiful than the last.
Points of contact.
There's no way.
Yeah, you just. There we go.
No way.
But of all the miles we covered and all of the canyons we explored, I could argue that this is my favorite. There's something indescribable about being here on this beach that feels truly special. After 2 beautiful nights, it was time to move on. We filled the empty spaces in our packs with over 2 gallons of water, now 50 pounds, to prepare for the next 2 days and 30 miles without reliable running water. And then we were off. At least we were following a real trail this time. until we came upon the next canyon, which used to have a road running through it. I guess that was a long time ago. Eventually, we made it across and just kept walking. We even saw some wildlife along the way. Once again, we came across a road that was no longer a road, then climbed to 1,000 feet in elevation just to drop back down again.
Yep, it says 1934.
There was no trail at this point, so we carefully sidestepped and butt scooted down a steep fence line before dropping down to the base of the canyon.
Made it down.
At this point, we were completely beat, but we had to figure out how to get to the sand to set up camp. We followed the canyon for a bit until we came upon a class 4 drop. Afraid there'd be more ahead, we made the decision to follow a faint trail up and out to the chest-high sage scrub, which we crunched through for about 100 yards until we reached the dunes. We were awestruck. These dunes were sprawled out ahead of us for miles, and we wanted to explore, but we were honestly so exhausted that all we could do was set up camp and enjoy the sunset. We'd save the exploring for tomorrow. Every morning we were surprised with the little tracks of the visitors throughout the night, but here on top of these secluded dunes, the tracks were the clearest. Following these tiny tracks was one of our favorite pastimes, and soon we made some tracks of our own as we set off across the miles of dunes. We had no idea what we'd find out there.
Insane. Huge.
By the end of the day, we realized we'd made the correct decision in leaving the canyon when we did. Although there were no more drops, if we'd made it to the mouth, we would have had to scale this sand dune with our packs on, which honestly would have been completely impossible.
Are you at the top?
Yeah, basically.
It was almost impossible without any packs on, but it was definitely better than bushwhacking through more sage scrub in a bikini.
What a beautiful end to an amazing week. Enjoying our last evening before the long hike back to the boat tomorrow.
Our last evening didn't disappoint as we soaked in our last incredible backcountry sunset.
Our little home.
It might be one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my entire life. The next morning, we broke camp at 6 a.m. and began our hike out the most fun way we could.
I want to record me going down.
Now how am I gonna move my legs? Shit.
Carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully.
We had to keep the vibes up because we had a 15-mile hike to complete before 3 o'clock if we wanted to catch the 4-hour-long ferry and complete our journey.
Made it up the hill. And that sunrise is looking pretty. Goodbye to our camp. We're there.
But at this point, I wasn't sure I wanted it to end. Before coming here, I couldn't imagine how I'd feel after 7 days in the backcountry, but now it was hard to leave.
I don't know either.
The journey was really challenging, but the beauty was indescribable, and the memories shared with my mom will stay with me forever.
Full circle! We've completed the loop.
We have.
What a good
What is it?
view up here.
Final stretch.
It's a long walk.
On the way home, we even got a particularly special show. We came across a small pod of killer whales interacting with a small group of humpback whales. It's still out for debate who was on the offense, and it's something I've never seen before and something I'll probably never see again. And I work on the water almost every single day. But it was a perfect way to wrap up an unforgettable week.